Most people wake up excited on their birthday, but for you, it's just another day. Not because you're joyless or ungrateful, but because your brain processes celebration, attention, and social expectations in a way that feels more exhausting than exciting. You're not being difficult. You're being honest with yourself about what actually feels good. If this already sounds familiar, then you're not alone. Your birthday is coming up. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's next week. And while everyone around you is asking what you're doing, what you're planning, who you're celebrating with, you're sitting there thinking, I'd really just rather do nothing. Not nothing in a depressing way. Nothing in a peaceful way. Nothing in a can I just have a quiet day where no one expects anything from me way. But the moment you say that out loud, people look at you like something's wrong, like you're depriving yourself, like you're being antisocial or self-sabotaging or secretly sad. But you're not. You just don't need what they need. And there's actual psychology behind why your brain treats birthdays like any other day and why forcing yourself to celebrate the way others expect you to feels more like a burden than a gift. If you've ever felt guilty for not wanting a party, for declining birthday plans, for preferring to spend the day alone or low-key, this is for you. Because the way your mind experiences celebration isn't broken, it's just wired differently. And understanding why changes everything. So let's talk about what's really happening when everyone else is excited and you're just not. Here's the thing about birthdays. For most people, they're a socially reinforced milestone. A day when you get reminded that you matter, that people care, that you're valued and loved and worth celebrating. And that external validation? It releases dopamine. It feels good. It motivates people to seek it out year after year, but your brain doesn't work that way. You don't need a birthday to confirm that you matter. You don't need a designated day for people to prove they care about you. You already know who values you, and it's not contingent on cake and candles and a flood of happy birthday texts from people you haven't spoken to in 6 months. Here's what's happening under the hood. Your sense of self-worth is internally driven, not externally validated. That means you derive your value from how you feel about yourself, not from how others respond to you. So when a birthday rolls around and people start performing care, posting on your wall, sending generic messages, making plans you didn't ask for, your brain doesn't register it as meaningful. It registers it as noise. Because you know the difference between someone who cares about you on a random Tuesday and someone who only remembers you exist because Facebook sent them a notification. And your dopamine system? It's more responsive to authentic connection than performative gestures. So a birthday filled with surface-level attention doesn't feel good. It feels empty. This is why you'd rather spend your birthday with one person who really gets you, or alone, than surrounded by people celebrating the idea of you without actually knowing you. You're not rejecting love. You're rejecting the performance of it. For most people, birthdays come with a script. You're supposed to be excited. You're supposed to make plans. You're supposed to let people celebrate you. You're supposed to act grateful and surprised and delighted when people make a fuss. But for you, that script feels like work. Because the moment your birthday becomes about meeting other people's expectations, about being the right amount of enthusiastic, about coordinating plans you don't want, about pretending you're more excited than you actually are, it stops being about you. And here's the twist that most people never notice. Your nervous system flags forced emotional performance as a social evaluation stressor. When you're required to perform emotions you don't feel, it doesn't register as celebration. It registers as a low-level demand that drains your energy and makes you want to retreat. This is why the idea of a surprise party makes you anxious instead of excited. It's not the celebration itself, it's the obligation to react the right way, to be surprised enough, happy enough, grateful enough, to perform joy for an audience when what you actually feel is overwhelmed. And here's the part nobody talks about. Birthdays aren't really for you. They're for the people around you. They get to feel good about celebrating you. They get to perform generosity and affection. But you're just the reason for the gathering. And if you don't naturally enjoy being the center of attention, the whole thing becomes a performance you didn't audition for. This is why you'd rather treat your birthday like a normal day. Because normal days don't come with a script. Normal days don't require you to be anything other than yourself. You're not avoiding celebration. You're avoiding expectations disguised as celebration. Here's the real question nobody stops to ask. What are we actually celebrating on birthdays? For most people, it's a milestone. Another year of life. Another year of growth. Another year of existence worth acknowledging. But your brain doesn't categorize it as a milestone. To you, it's just the calendar flipping one more page. Here's the psychology behind it. Your reward system is triggered by effort and achievement. When you accomplish something difficult, when you overcome a challenge, when you create something meaningful, that feels worth celebrating. Because you did something. But birthdays are passive. You didn't work for it. You just existed for another 365 days. And your brain doesn't see that as celebration worthy. This doesn't mean you're nihilistic or ungrateful. It just means your sense of accomplishment is tied to action, not to the passage of time. You'd rather celebrate things that actually matter to you. A project you completed, a goal you achieved, a moment of genuine connection with someone you care about. Those feel worth marking. But a birthday? It's arbitrary. And your brain doesn't assign emotional weight to arbitrary things. You're not rejecting the idea of celebration. You're just selective about what you celebrate. And that's not cold. That's intentional. Here's what most people don't understand. For you, attention isn't a gift. It's a spotlight. And spotlights are uncomfortable. When people sing happy birthday to you, when everyone's eyes are on you, when you're expected to smile and blow out candles and make a wish while people watch, your nervous system doesn't interpret that as love. It interprets it as scrutiny. Here's why this matters. Your brain is wired to feel most comfortable when you're not being observed, when you can exist without monitoring how you're coming across, when you're free to just be, without an audience analyzing your reactions. But birthdays force you into the opposite state. Everyone's watching. Everyone's waiting for you to be happy enough, to be grateful enough, to validate their effort by having the right emotional response. And that's exhausting. This is why you'd rather skip the cake and candles entirely. Not because you don't appreciate the gesture, but because the ritual itself, the performance of gratitude, the forced moment of being watched activates your social performance mode when all you want is to feel at ease. People who love being the center of attention get energy from it. Their brains release dopamine when they're celebrated. They feel seen, valued, special. But your brain doesn't work that way. Being the center of attention doesn't make you feel special. It makes you feel exposed. And that's not something you can fake your way through. That's not something you should have to fake your way through. You're not being ungrateful. You're protecting your nervous system from a situation it finds stressful instead of joyful. Here's the part people misunderstand. You're not anti-celebration. You're anti-spectacle. You don't need a party to feel loved. You don't need gifts to feel valued. You don't need a room full of people to feel seen. What you do need: small, intentional gestures, a conversation that matters, a day spent doing something you actually enjoy, a friend who remembers what you care about and acknowledges it without making a production out of it. Here's the neuroscience behind it. Your brain bonds through oxytocin. The chemical released more through deep personal connection than through crowds and spectacle. And oxytocin isn't triggered by big celebrations. It's triggered by depth, by presence, by moments where someone really sees you. So when someone takes the time to do something thoughtful, something that shows they know you, not just that they know it's your birthday, your brain lights up. That feels meaningful. That feels like love. But a generic party? A crowd of acquaintances singing at you? That doesn't release oxytocin. That releases cortisol. Because your system knows the difference between genuine connection and social obligation. This is also why smaller gatherings feel easier. Fewer social variables means fewer things to manage. You're not constantly monitoring multiple people's reactions or navigating group dynamics. You can actually be present instead of performing. Peace isn't a lack of celebration. Peace is your celebration. So here's what psychology reveals. If you treat your birthday like a normal day, it's not because you don't value yourself. It's because your brain doesn't assign meaning to arbitrary milestones, doesn't crave external validation, and doesn't find joy in being the center of attention. You're not broken for not wanting a party. You're just honest about what actually feels good to you. And that's okay. The world will tell you that you're missing out, that you should want to celebrate, that there's something wrong with preferring quiet over spectacle. But the world doesn't understand that for you, peace is the celebration, that a day spent exactly how you want to spend it, with no expectations, no performance, no pressure, is the best gift you could give yourself. So, if you want to treat your birthday like a normal day, treat it like a normal day. If you want to skip the party, skip it. If you want to spend it alone or with one person who really matters, do that. Your birthday doesn't need to look like everyone else's to be meaningful. It just needs to feel true to you. If you made it this far, you're not being difficult. You're being honest. And that's worth honoring. Drop a birthday cake emoji if you'd rather skip your birthday than be the center of attention, and comment the one thing that would actually make your birthday feel peaceful instead of performative.